And welcome back to the NEC stream of the Hearthstone League. My name, once again, is Orbital. I am joined here now with Mick to run out the rest of this day, I believe. We have the final match today between Concordia, Wisconsin, and Dartmouth, as we have Shepard going up against 5K plays in this final map. Mick, are you ready for this series?
I am indeed ready for this series. I've heard a lot of things so far. I've been looking at how these guys have been performing today. All the matches going around with each one of these competitors so far. Everything seemed to be pretty close here, pretty fun to watch, and I'm hoping that we can close it out with an equally exciting game.
Yeah, today we are taking a look. Shepard on Dartmouth did go 1-0 in his first series in week one. He is coming into this with a 3-1 record. That was the score from last time. And then on the flip side, 5K unfortunately took a loss in week one. So maybe looking for some redemption coming out with a possible game plan. But we got some pretty standard decks as well as some not so standard decks coming in. I mean, Shepard running that Zoo Warlock, kind of an offset mage, and then, of course, run of the mill Demon Hunter, and then the Pure Paladin. Whereas 5K bringing out that token Druid, the World Kick Rogue, Zoo Warlock as well, and then the Rant Paladin. So fairly standard across the board. Any of them really stand out to you? Anyone that seems kind of crazy?
Personally, the Cyclone Mage, I always love seeing this deck. It just sits there and provides so much randomness for the game. You sit there, you have a couple of kind of cards here and there within the deck. You do have ones that ramp off the fact that you have all these spells, but then you also have a lot of cards that generate more and more spells, and it really just comes down to RNG. You're always going to have a full hand for the most part, but you never know what that hand's going to consist of. So it's always exciting to see how these players manage to play the game out and possibly get a win with what they're dealt with.
Yeah, the Astromancer. Jeez, I can't read today. Oh boy, Astromancer Solarian, one of the key playmakers for that mage deck. We did get word that the Paladin by Shepard was banned away by 5K, and then Shepard went ahead and banned out the Warlock on 5K's side. So a nice little selection. We won't get any mirror matchups of the paladins and the warlocks, of course. I always think that is very entertaining. But talk to me about this paladin deck, because usually we see the pure paladin running in there, but this time a little bit different on the side of 5K.
We do see the Ramp Paladin actually coming into play here. You do see, instead of just a whole bunch of Libram cards and things of the likes, instead of just purely focusing on those Librams, getting a refresh on them here and there, and just repeating that cycle on minions as much as possible, you do have a little more rotation. We do see two pin flingers within that deck. We see things that are like Salhet's Pride. We see Red Scales, all kinds of rotations, which can tend to refill your hand as best as possible, but still giving you really solid stats on the board constantly and pretty consistently as well, compared to that pure pally where you just don't have only two minions in hand at all times and you're hoping to just buff them up constantly and make sure they stick to the board. Instead, you just have more of an actual board to fill, and you have a little more options to work with in terms of how ramp compares to pure.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see that one play out. We are waiting for the players to, of course, get underway with match number one in this best of five. Is there any matchup that you would prefer to see between the current decks that are left? I know, of course, it is a blind pick into that situation, but I mean, is there any matchup that you would like to see either player try and play into, or anyone that you think would be very interesting to watch?
Personally, the Cyclone Mage with the Ramp Paladin. Ramp Paladin has a
Ooh.
lot of kind of things to put on the board, a lot of different threats here and there, and a lot of kind of board control in terms of when you throw down that bear off down with how you had the pin flinger and lots of big threats. Whether or not Mage can actually pull out the resources to get those hard removals on those threats in the board, and also how much resources they can get, and see how much resources get dwindled down from their hand when trying to deal with those kinds of big minions. So I want to see, how exactly these guys can find a way to maintain their hand size and keep a full kind of arsenal within their grasp, while also trying to counter what these other guys are throwing on the board.
Yeah, and that's always a big question, right? How are you going to deal with your opponent's deck? Remember, these decks cannot be changed out. They cannot be manipulated once they are locked in for the matches. So it's really, you have your hand, you drew it beforehand, let's go to town. Now, for both these guys, of course, again, you do have to win with all three of the decks that you have chosen at that time. So my question to you, looking at these matchups, we talked about which one would probably be the most exciting. is there one that you see one side really hoping that it will get? Maybe if Shepard pulls out Demon Hunter, what is one of the matchups he might not want to face? Or are they all going to be fairly okay, not too hard leaning one side or the other?
Yeah, speaking on that point, I feel like for the most part, these guys are going to struggle with that druid. Once you know that both of them have seen that they have the same exact kind of layout when it comes to token druid, and they know what they're dealing with when it comes to each other. So when it really comes down to facing that matchup, these guys are going to know exactly what they're going into. Once a man gets locked out and say druid is their last deck, they're going to know exactly what cards they're dealing with. They're going to know exactly what orders they're looking for, and they're going to know exactly how to sit there and try and counter as best as possible. Only issue is if either one of these guys are running a rogue into that matchup. Say we do have the rogue go into the token druid. That's going to be tough because druid's going to flood the board. Meanwhile, rogue is more of just establishing these stealthy minions, which you can't counter on the board. So if it comes around to that, that's something you have to consider in terms of how to order yourself so you don't get caught in that matchup and you don't get locked out to get 3-0.
Yeah, and it's always kind of crazy to have to try and mind game that. It's pretty much you're bringing three different armies into this battle, send one out, and deal with it as you will. So, like you said, that rogue possibly getting mismatched in, and really comes down to that final shot. And is there one that you think would be a good opener set or a good opening deck? Of course, if you win that set, you can't use it later. Is there anyone that stands out that would be kind of a good throwaway, or one that either opponent would not want to give up in the first rotation?
I think to back that up, I think that's exactly where we're going to see 5K play this rogue. It's going to be a very strong opener. He's going to sit there and try and get off the board as soon as possible. So he's left with Druid and Paladin trying his best to because Paladin's a very solid deck and he's not going to want to use that right off round one. So he can sit there and have that option to have a little more sustain in the later games if he faces a tougher deck and knows that the man's locked out at that point. If he can get rogue right off the board, and with it being such a sustainable deck and right up front, it sits there and just buys into the whole aggro mentality. If you go in right into the game very aggressive, not just in terms of that round, but in terms of all the matches that are going to go on, if you start with that rogue, try and open it with as best as possible, then you do have Druid to deal with and Paladin after that, which all in all have a lot more sustain to them, which give you a little bit more options to deal with when you're trying to face these other decks, and they have a little more variety to them.
Yeah, variety. The spice of life that you want to keep hanging on to the entire time. They are about set to go. So while we do wait, I do want to talk about one of our other fantastic sponsors coming out here. We talked about Meta before, but I do want to talk about Respawn. Respawn coming out here with some fantastic products. They are forged for all-day comfort for content creators, professional and casual players of any sort who are looking to upgrade their setup. They have been battle tested throughout most times and definitely achieves a level of comfort that leaves competitors in the dust. So if you're interested, go ahead, check them out online, and we will take a look. We are underway, I do believe, and we should be able to see what they can bring to the table. I believe I'm a little bit rough here as I might have a few problems, so we'll go ahead and take a look. But yeah, let's go ahead, get underway. What do you see, Mick? Bring us some of this intel.
Well, we do have Shepard going ahead and starting with this Warlock matchup against 5K, who's bringing Token Druid to the board. And these guys, it's going to be a really trade-heavy kind of battle here. When you see that Token Druid is going to be a lot of trying to keep resources on that board, getting those trades, getting those buffs, trying to make things stick. So when it comes around to it, they can sit there and do it. But 5K right off the bat here, not sure if this is a rehost of any kind, but 5K seems to have conceded the Token Druid right off the bat against Shepard with the Zoo Warlock. Not exactly sure what's going on there. Don't know if that was a forfeit of some kind, because I saw that he had spells in hand to sit there and cast, but instead he opted for a forfeit.
Yeah, that's not exactly standard, but if you opt to take it out, maybe they chose a strong one, of course, and said, hey, listen, we're not worried. That's all we're going to take. We know that the matchup is already a loss, and it really comes into that mental battle. Do you think dropping that deck right away, because you took away okay, so we do see that was we are having some technical difficulties. We'll be right back with you. So I believe we are getting things underway. Uh, Mick, talk to us about what's going on right now. I think we have a very good understanding of what just happened.
I think what we're seeing is these players didn't get enough practice time in the day. We do see that for the there has been an update today. There's an update last Friday as well. With BlizzCon line and everything going on right now, everybody's got these updates going on. I think that's messing with these players' heads. But we do see the rematch loading back up again right here, once again with the Druid against Warlock matchup. I don't think, at that point they realized what they were going up against and said, we'll try and keep the integrity of the game. We're not going to switch up anything. We're going to go right back into where we left off.
All right. So, of course, but this does raise the question, of course. Obviously, not too many cards thrown, but now you get a brand new hand. You get a brand new starting side. And so that might be the lucky part. Some of these guys, of course, might be sitting there and just going, well, hey, that's actually a sigh of relief, right? So I'm curious to see how they decide to do this. And if that does change up any mentalities and if they decide to kind of push tempo, we will be in the game here. Let's go ahead and try my hand this time. But of course, Mick, you are already in there. So once again, with that standard setup, Warlock versus Druid. Gotta love the fancy, unique heroes coming up.
Yeah, and right off the bat, we do see Zoo Warlock, we do see Shepard being able to put down that Void Walker, and we see a pretty strong opening hand here for 5K. He does have a couple minion plays in hand. He has a good bit of twin spells, allowing him to get some threats on the board, as well as a couple spells that spawn minions here. He doesn't exactly have any buffs yet, which is a huge part in this Token Druid matchup when you're trying to get these trades and you're trying to get establishments. But looking at Warlock's hand, at this point in the game, he doesn't have too much to work with in comparison because he also is trying to flood the board, but he's trying to flood it not with manipulating with spells, but purely just playing those small cost characters. And he doesn't have the hand size to sit there and match up with this Druid at this point in time.
Yeah, and just going straight for the early DPS, trying to take the Satyr off the board, an immediate Lunar Eclipse in response. Hey, yo, just, don't do it to me like that. And possibly dropping the Dreamwave Guardians, getting a few extra resources on the board. Love it. The Crystal Dryads coming out, and a nice little clear, albeit just 2, with a 3-stack minion on his own. So 5K playing this early couple rounds nicely.
Yeah, and he's looking really good right now. He is in a 3-1. He's in a 3-0 situation in terms of minions on the board. He has those life steals established right now. He even has that hero to power to get him some armor and get him an attack on the board. And just even out the game like that, he doesn't even need those minions on there right now. But he does sit there and have on the board and in his hand a couple more resources on how to generate minions. He has the bees, he has rising winds, and he can use that to look for another buff, or he can just stick with what he's got. But guess the weight right here, which he's going to pull, is going to be a huge asset when it comes to finding more things to play with to allow these minions to stick even more, because right now those Dryads aren't going to be enough to sit there and take out that 1-3 unless you want to trade in the Eagle, which he doesn't want to at this point.
Yeah, and he just trades a little bit of health, but immediately the bees come on out. You gotta love them as much as you can, just flooding the board with those 1/1s. Of course, the Eagle to round out the commanding side with a 3-1, and not looking like Shepard has a good answer for this board. Taking a look through his hand, got a couple taunts coming out, but instead Tour Guide decides to drop in and have a little happy time, and still not drawing a whole lot as much as he would like. Wicked Whispers, the second part of that.
Really interesting that Shepard decided to go for a double Void Walker here. And instead of rather running, he did look for a draw there. He was trying to get some soul fragments in order to recover the health that he lost. But whenever he played that Raised Dead, he also generated another one of those in hand to have more access to soul fragments in his deck. Not sure why I didn't opt for that. Maybe he's looking for more of a later kind of, heals going on here. But as of right now, he does have a pretty strong board in terms of retaliating against all these smaller minions. But if by any chance 5K gets any spells on the board to buff these guys, he's going to be a huge threat to be able to shut those down and still have some space on the board to work with to damage that face.
Ooh, and that's going to be a little bit of a draw. Nature Studies into Mark of the Wild. He's still deciding what he wants to do. He's going to toss it over to the Eagle again, granting a very slight taunt with a nice buff. That Eagle's going to turn into the Harbinger of Death as he knocks out one of the Void Walkers. Might throw a few more of the smaller minions, or might just hold. I'm curious what he's going to decide to do.
When you see 5K here trying to figure out what to do, you don't want to trade in all those minions into that 2-4 because you may get rid of the 2-4, but it's not worth it there in the end because you're losing you're losing a lifesteal minion at that point. You've lost now 4 Bs as well. You know, it's just way too much to deal with, but I think he feels confident in his draws coming up here, thinking maybe with that rising winds, he's going to get something out of it to help him out in the long run. But coming off with the Flesh Giant here, he has to find a way to deal with that.
Oh, I feel like he's kind of sad now that he dropped all the bees, of course, that might have helped out here, but immediately comes back with the Glowfly. All right, bees are out, 2/2s are in. Said, let's upgrade this stuff. A nice little draw onto the Nightshade Matron. Might not be exactly what you're hoping for, but again, a 5/5 tagged onto the 8/8, which is fully active and ready to go. Some heavy damage and defense coming out of Shepard's side. The Warlock extra draws starting to give a little bit of advantage, and there it is. Conrathod, Ebenlock, ready to go in the next round.
He's now let Shepard get these big minions on board, and that is huge for countering this token druid, especially with him already trading in so many resources in those void walkers. He doesn't have a way to trade at this point now. And he could have let that taunt on board. He could have let, put Shepard in the situation where he has to get those trades. But now in this kind of course of the game, the place he's standing at is not as beneficial to him because the minions that Shepard's trading out are a lot bigger than the ones he did have. So, maybe 5K's looking back and realizing, maybe I shouldn't have executed how I did earlier.
Yeah, and now another full stacked board. Lots of 1/1s, 1/2s, and a couple of minis of others. So the problem is, again, you can't really clear it as much down to 14 health. Don't want to use that live tap too often. He is sitting and wondering. He has both Nightshade Matron and Conrathod, but I don't think either of those really going to help out here. Flesh Giant, of course, only 2 cost. Not going to toss that 2 cost, though. Gonna bring up the Spirit Jailer, deciding to try and get a little extra. Believes he can live through, which I believe he can, but setting up for his own lethal board here. Tire side and brings out a nice rest. Takes out at least one of the 1/1s and might take out a few more.
At this point, 5K, he has to get something that just changes the game. If he could possibly look at this, doing the math here, if he got a Savage Roar, that'd be 2. Oh, maybe. Oh. He says there that would be, with that'd be 2. And then you'd have 3, you have 12 plus 2. That'd be lethal.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh my goodness!
Shepard's gonna be so sad. He stacked it. There it is. Savage Roar comes out. Oh, that's gonna be
the one card he needed.
Wait, no. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Sorry, my brain did not want to work. That is fully lethal. Mick. Oh, that's a painful turnaround right there.
It is. Oh, Shepard did everything he could. He looked like he had him in lock right there. He said, okay, I got a bigger board than you, Chief. I can trade out as much as I need to all day. But 5K said, all right, I'm praying right here. I need Savage Roar. He got it, and he could close it out with that. Maybe, he needed a little more trades when it came down to the early game and shut down those Dryads and all. But goodness gracious. It's super fortunate for 5K there.
Welcome to the RNG game, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you pull the card that you want. Powered up with a 2 across the board. And now you got to be questioning, right? Because if that kind of RNG is on the side of 5K, looks like he might be getting his first win on the board. But now you drop it down into the World Kick Rogue and the Ramp Paladin. You were talking about it before. Again, leaving that World Kick Paladin up might not be the best option here.
Yeah, and I think 5K may feel pretty kind of confident with himself here because he just faced Shepard's Zoo Warlock. He knows exactly how he wants to play it. He knows what resources in it. He's seen the deck list already just as we have. And he knows exactly what he needs to try and find a way on the board here. It wouldn't make much sense for him to get a prize plunder right here to sit there and only trade off a 1/1. A 1 thief, he doesn't want to coin that out. He may just sit there and throw away a turn if he was smart here to go ahead and save those resources for later turns because he wants to make sure we do see, the wasted turn go here, which is totally fine. Nothing on the board. but overall giving him more things to work with when those bigger threats like the Flesh Giant, the Minari, things as such come onto the board that he actually needs to address and needs to use those resources.
Yeah, and taking a look on the board, a Shepard dropping that Spirit Jailer early, gonna be starting to shuffle in those soul fragments, try and get that health pool ready to go. Last time, I don't think he pulled any of them. I think he pulled maybe 1 or 2 off of extra draws, but very rough time as we do see the rush coming out, so little extra damage being tagged in for the time being. And again, a little bit of a stack Nitro boost poison. No minions really to work with there, but might not be terrible.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. He still does have a secret passage in hand. He has that one thief if he was looking for any kind of generation of a spell or something that kind of gets some board control going on, which it looks like what he's opting for. But overall, and he does get a Frostbolt, which could take care of that 1/3 if he so does decide, and also has a Primordial Studies if he needs that as well. But besides that, he's looking for how to give himself a sustainable board. He's looking going forward how to get these clears, and that's why he opts for Frostbolt in case something goes down on the board that seems like a big enough threat where he needs to freeze it, like something like a Flesh Giant, or something just to take down like a Minari.
Man, it's almost like you called it. You just summoned that thing out of thin air. Flesh Giant in the hand and immediately dropped 3 health as he does push for the Raise Dead. Shepard trying to start stacking his own side now. Knows the combos might be coming out here shortly. That's going to be the Wriggly board being dropped down and a little extra damage once again. So far, little love taps to both of these players.
Yeah, in 5K, he's in a good spot here in terms of traits. He does have that 2-1 to go into the 2-2. He has that 1-2 to go into the 2-1. He can diminish a lot of damage here on the board and still be totally fine with just taking 2 damage over this next turn in order to preserve his hand in any kind of way possible. And he's still, no matter what happens, he does have that secret passage in hand, which gives him all the kind of utility he has of his current hand, plus those 4 extra cards when it comes around to it. So in those later rounds, both these guys are going to kind of trickle off a little bit and not be as effective. But we do see a lot more combo pieces with this rogue, allowing him to find ways to clear the board if he doesn't have it up front.
And that's going to be the Nightshade Matron, not wanting to drop that just yet. Of course, going to be using the Dark Lair. Might be able to drop 1 more card down between Spirit Jailer and the Animated Broomstick, if he so decides. Question being, which one will be gonna opt for the Spirit Jailer? So both Jailers coming out and possibly linking up on some enemies. That's gonna be another tag as slow around coming out. Candle Taker and Pharaoh Cat versus 2 Jailers and the Dark Lair thus far.
And if I was in FiveK's shoes at this point, I'd be looking at, you do have a 3-2 on board with Reborn. He's probably going to dagger and then go Nitro Boost right here. Looking for a way to just get that aggression on the board. Go ahead and get that damage down. Dwindle Shepard down as far as possible, because he's going to sit there and force those trades. But he's going to have this 3-2 Reborn. He's going to have that Candle Taker, which is going to force those trades because they have to take care of it. They have to trade that into him. Meanwhile, he's just kind of sitting comfy at this point. So, liking to see what he can try and manage here and how much damage he can get on the board before those resources get taken away from him.
Yeah, and there he goes. Goes ahead, eats the damage on his own. Then is going to swap right back. 15 HP on this Warlock. Not where you want to be right now. For the time being, that's going to be a little bit of a freeze going out, dropping 1 of the Jailers down to 1. So looking a little bit dicey for the board. Shepard might have to start dropping some of these guys if he wants. Start holding in, and there it is. Flesh Giant on the board. 8-8 there. Knows that the freeze is down, so might as well go ahead. Force a little bit of the battle.
That's a lot right there for 5K. And if I was in his shoes, I wouldn't exactly know how to retaliate. He does get an Eviscerate in hand, which is going to help out with the 8-5 on board. He could trade the Pharaoh Cat into it, leaving 2 free damage for Shepard on the board. But that's a card that you're utilizing right there. You have to get the combo to get the most out of it. And he doesn't want to take that 8 damage to face at this point, because that's huge. So he does still have that secret passage in hand. He's looking like he's opting to go for it, which he does. Finding a different kind of way to manage this and deal with that 8-5 on board, because that's really just a big threat that he needs to take care of. Otherwise, he's not going to let anything else stick on board in the meantime.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to like this hand too much either, as not a terrible amount of extras that he can use. Drops down the Evil Miscreant, draws 2 Faceless Lackeys, and are going to play one of them.
Oh, that's a pretty solid draw for him, though. That's more hand cycling right there with the Star Scryer. You do have that 3 damage, which is huge, and that's going to force a trade in itself. It may not have that much health, but that's the threat about it, is that it has a lot of attack behind it to boost it up, as well as having that Death Rider, which could possibly put something like a Swindle in his hand, allowing him to go going like Faceless, Eviscerate, then, you know, say that Swindle to give another hand generation. That's a really good generation for him out of that Faceless Lackey.
Yeah, nice, good cycle. And now back with the Eviscerate and Nitro Boost, like you pointed out. And a draw of the Wicked Whispers. So far, looks like Shepard is not getting immediately some of the cards that he's hoping for. Having a slight issue. He's been sitting on the Nightshade Matron double, actually, on the left side. You can see it on the screen there. And only an animated Broomstick. So he is hurting for some resources on this end.
Yeah, and I feel like with that Matron, he's going to want to have to pop one of those. Because he wants to sit there. He wants to get some guys off of the board. He knows that 5K's running low on cards in hand right here. And he knows that he just used a secret passage, so he's left with last second resorts at this point.
Wait, that's actually quite a bit of damage coming out here. Yeah, drops it down to about 11. Decides and opts to take out one of the others. Clearing the board a little bit, but that is going to be a very damaging lethal overkill, if you will, if 5K doesn't come up with a response.
And looking at the prize plunder, so I think he has one. To be completely honest, I think he has enough damage in hand and on the board in order to clear this, and once again shut down Shepard's final attempt, unlike he did last time.
It's going to be the Eviscerate coming out for.
That Eviscerate, that's huge for him not to sit there and opt for a trade by any means. The Wild Pyramids are also not working in his favor right there.
Yeah, this is looking a little bit dicey. Might drop the Pharaoh Cat just cuz, but I mean, what else could be done here? Couple tags left and right, but I think that's going to be the Nitro Boost poison onto Wild Pyramid, so I don't know if there's a whole lot left for 5K to do.
No, 5K, you had it. He just had to trade. That's all he had left on the board. You didn't need to worry about the damage going to face this turn. You didn't need to worry about lethal. You knew that he had nothing in hand. You need to get those trades. You need to close this guy out, especially with that Eviscerate. That Flesh Giant had 5 health. Like, that's not that big a deal when you have an Eviscerate, which covers 4 of it right there. I think, in all honesty, I don't want to say he threw it, but he definitely took an avenue right there that I don't think any of us watching expected him to take, and it ended up costing him that match.
Yeah, now we get into the 3rd game here in this best of 5 series. Like you said, pointing out some of these strats and the player just not seeing it. It's going to be Rogue against Demon Hunter this time around. 5K going back saying, hey, I know what I messed up on, quite possibly. Let's see if I can correct my mistake. However, facing this Demon Hunter, is it a better matchup than the Warlock from before?
Honestly, I feel like Demon Hunter's a tougher matchup for him. If he could have closed it out and against that Zoo Warlock has a lot of just has a lot of burn to it. And he finally had Shepard in a situation where Shepard had that last stand once again, burned out everything he had in his hand, and he could have capitalized off that. Demon Hunter, once he runs out of resources, that's the thing about Demon Hunter. Once he's out of cards with that Warlock, you just have a bunch of minions on board. With Demon Hunter, he has so much face damage going for him, but by the time he's out of hand, you're probably dead at that point. So it's going to be a lot tougher for him to retaliate and actually find a way to make it out against this matchup.
Yeah, however, that is 2 straight 9-cost units coming out by Shepard. I'm not sure if that's actually what he fully wanted here in the earlier stages of the game that just kind of eats up hand space. On the flip side, Whirl Kick Master, we didn't even see it in the last round, or in the last map, or not map. Wow, I'm getting all my games confused. Last game between these two. So we'll see if he's able to utilize it properly. That's going to be the Mana Crystal dropped. Dropping it to 3-2. Thinking about dropping the Evil Miscreants is going to drop it instead. That's a couple nice extras coming in. Kobold plus Ethereal.
And I think 5K right here, he is a lot more minion-based hand right now. He has a lot more resource generation. He had that Evil Miscreant, which allowed him to get more lackeys in. Getting an Ethereal Lackey out of that, allowing him to get another spell on top of the Wand Thief, which is a mage spell, and just combining everything back and forth. That Restless Mummy from the Pharaoh Cat, he just has a lot to work with here. And I think if Demon Hunter, it really comes down to how he plays this out, but looking from his hand, it's going to be a lot slower matchup than he wanted.
Yeah. Now taking a look across their Secret Passage once again in and available. Prize Plunder doesn't want to play that just yet, but you can see him dancing. He's curious about what can possibly come out. And now Eviscerate's still in the hand as well, and actually might play it. This might be a little early when you can't actually combo right away, but is going to draw the Prize Plunder. That's going to force an extra coming in, and a second Prize Plunder. All right. I think he's happy about that draw. He just clears the little minions and dropping the board to 0 for Shepard.
5K, I think he's just trying to reserve his hand right here. He had so many more avenues when it came to finding things to get out of that Whirl Kick. He did have the Wand Thief in hand. He had that Plunder in hand, and he had a way to set it up with Ethereal Lackey. If he waited till about turn 5, he could have possibly gotten 3 minions instead of 1, because you do know that Demon Hunter had that weapon in hand, could easily traded it out.
Yep, and so many avenues he chose. Maybe one that we do not define as the optimal route. Picks up a Backstab, Sprint, and Sinister Strike to pick up for himself. The Sprint, I'm not sure he'll probably go for that. So yeah, gonna grab the 1 cost. Gonna try and throw in a couple extra combos on the back end there. Immediately drops the Wand Thief. Gonna have an extra spell. Let's see what he does. Ooh.
Do it for the stream, man. Oh my god. We're here for content, dog. You know what we want.
He had the option. He had the option to
It was there. It was there. F in the chat for that pog. Oh, for that Yog box. No. All right.
When you have the option, but you don't take it, he just lost a lot of follows on. No, he didn't. That's going to be a triple drop on the 1/2 Soul Fed Fellhound. Very sorry. And an immediate stall into 5. So huge board, at least mini lackeys, I should say, for Shepard. While he tries to stack up his hand again, still sitting with 2 9s, and that hurts, I feel.
Yeah, that's huge for Demon Hunter. You're expecting to get those draws later on. You're expecting the fact that if you're playing Demon Hunter, Blizzard's going to trust you with not having a bunch of expensive cards right off the bat. That all your playing cards right from the beginning are going to be put into your hand. You're going to have a lot of rotations, and you get that at the very end is kind of like a last resort. But now he's having to look at this as one of his main avenues for dealing damage. Otherwise, he's just going to be locked out and not have an option in hand. Otherwise, it's just kind of taking up space there when he has more cards that can generate over the course of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, I think he's not happy about having 2 Spirit Jailers, because pretty much you're shuffling in an extra 2 cards each, where you could be trying to pull extra minions or extra other resources, and just having the Soul Fragments at this point is stalling the inevitable. So he's going to go ahead, drop a little extra health here, force out that Restless Mummy. Now going to drop the I-Beam once again, trying to use it as quickly as possible. So lots of low cost, still sitting at 3-6. Actually opts against it, so he is going to hang on to that I-Beam for as long as he possibly can.
Yeah, no, I'm sure if he wanted an expensive minion in hand, it wouldn't have been like Nether or like a NECC or things of the likes of that. He would have probably wanted Blood Herald at this point in the game, because with it being so large and scaling off those minion deaths, he would have liked to have that a lot more, especially with it being more of a mid-tier in terms of mana pool and how much it costs compared to 9 cost, which we still haven't reached that stage in the game. you know, throwing down a 5 cost, say 10/10 at this point, would really be influential for this guy, but it's just not an option, which I'm sure he would have much rather appreciated compared to 9.
That's going to be a couple quick tags, taking out the rest. And now, again, Shepard having to start from ground zero, just getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, little one hits over and over again. That's going to be the Inseparable Fellhound being drawn. So maybe a slight stall coming out here, but still long road ahead for him.
And Fellhound can only do so much. We do see him having a lot of spells in hand, things of that. And especially for 5K, he has a Devolving Missiles, and that's an easy removal from the board. You know, you do have that corrupt effect, but it doesn't increase the cost. It just makes it a little more powerful. It makes it a new minion, but with the same cost. Still only making it a 3 cost, which could get diminished to a 1/1.
This is looking like paying Eviscerate, Whirl Kick Master being hovered there. I mean, it looks like he has a decent combo. 7 mana to expend. Looks like about 4 he could dance out here. Yeah, he's going to drop quite a few, fill the board a little bit. That's going to be an extra 2 lackeys. Which ones are they going to force? Picks up an Ethereal and a Witchy, plus an extra Hooked Scimitar. So that's going to be an option for pushing through in the final round before those 9 points come online.
And I feel kind of bad for 5K here. He had a lot more. He had the space in terms of mana and the cards in hand to make a big play here and get a lot of resources out of that. You know, you do get a lot from that evil, but he had Swindle there and he had those Eviscerates, but he doesn't want to use those resources just yet. And Swindle would have filled his hand up enough that would have created 3 cards and not given up the work with.
Oh, that's just rude.
Yeah. Such a huge card. These expendable performers.
Oh my god. And it comes back.
Insane.
You gotta love it. That's... Oh no. 5K is just like, what? Come on.
Yeah.
What just happened here?
And he has 13 health. So I will say 5K may actually have something right here. He does have the Schmitter, which is combo that's 4 damage. Then he has an Eviscerate, 2 of them. So that's 8 plus that 4. He has 12 on board for sure.
Yeah, looking like
and he has Sinister as well. He has lethal.
That's gonna be it. Clear the board. It doesn't matter. Let's just keep dropping the preparedness of that rogue. Fool me once. Go ahead and misstep on that first rogue game. This time around, he picks it up. 3 damage, dropping it. And the 4 to finish it off. 5K steps up 2-1 thus far in the series.
Wow. Maybe he just threw that second game then. Maybe he sat there and said, you know, okay, I don't have enough practice with this. And I do want to sit there and see the Demon Hunter matchup. I haven't played enough of this on ladder, so I'll just drag it out a little bit and see if I can face it. He did get those expendable performers on him, which was kind of unfortunate, but thankfully in the early end of the game, picking that Sinister Strike and things of the likes and building up that hand, he did have a way to close it out without needing to put things on the board. And here's the matchup, baby. This is what I'm looking for.
You called it earlier. You're like, I want to see this. I want to see this. And we're already off to a fantastic start. Looks like a couple 2 costs coming in. Oh, he threw it away. That's going to be Frost Whisper sitting in the hand as Shepard early on. 5K, I have yet to draw up his hand. Let's go ahead, take a peek at what he is running as he has turn number 1. Oh, I feel that's pain sitting with a 9 and 6 right off the bat.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue.
This is second. No. First time it was Shepard. Now 5K gets that feeling. He's like, oh, this is what happened last game. Okay.
Yeah, he does have a ways to make that cheaper, though. Meanwhile, Shepard last game, there's nothing you can really do for those Demon Hunter cards. Meanwhile, Paladin is purely based off trying to make these expensive cards cheap and make it seem as if you're just completely busted.
Yeah. Well, let's see if he can pull it off again. Drawing that Sorcerer's Apprentice. Already stacking with the Silver Hand Recruits, the most expendable resource in the game. Everyone swears by it. And we'll see what he decides to do. Again, still sitting with a few spells in the arsenal as well.
This is really good for him, though. He does start out with a Cyclone. He gets those biscuits right off the bat. He gets plenty of things to work with. So going forward, he has, and he's going to try and also get an apprentice on the board and make sure it sticks by some means, not knowing there's a pin flinger in 5K's hand, but overall having a lot of things to work with. Throwing some of them away, but it doesn't matter. He has that Cyclone, and he can go ahead and pop whatever he wants. So when it comes around the next round, he has plenty to work with.
And immediately drops the Mana Cyclone. Like you said, oh!
Do it. Do it, Shepard. I see you looking at it. Maybe we didn't see a Yogg box, so we could see a deck of Lunacy if we're lucky.
Oh no, that is... I don't even want to know what's going on in chats right now. That is a ludicrous pull on the spells. 5K, I don't think has any idea what's going on. Just clears very quickly, loses the animated broomstick. I assume, yep, that's going to be it. And we're ready for a little bit of a tear, quite possibly. Drew another Mana Cyclone, so if he draws double, I'm going to friggin' laugh.
Oh, I mean, he has a cram session, so if he finds a way to get some more spell damage on board, I'm sure he would not hesitate to get that deck of Lunacy down, because that gives him so many kind of ridiculous options in terms of later games that even we can't predict, because all those spells are random and cost 3 more.
It's just so brutal. Earlier today, we did see a simple stall deck dropping in with some 9s and 10s of damage going through, and that's going to be Salhet's Pride, though. Being put up, might be able to get some resources and moves on the table. That's also going to be the Soulbound Ash Tongue, as no attacks can be made, so we simply stall. That's going to be Primordial Studies being dragged in. Sitting on 4 mana still. Going to go ahead and play it, and there you go. Taking a look. Those are all... Wow.
Yeah, they're all pretty big draws. He is going to go for Malagos, though. You know, but maybe if he gets a deck of Lunacy early, he can do that Malagos, then he can do that cram session. He'll get 6 cards, which are really expensive, but they don't cost that much for him. I'm hoping he's going for a meme setup here. I would love to see this. I would praise this man for doing that.
You're trying to like manifest it right now, and I love it. Just like throwing up the prayers, everything on the sword, just like, come on. I know it wants to be given. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the draws that just came through for 5K. He gets, I think, another Salhet and actually immediately drops the attendant that he had picked up earlier and straight into the Og Merchant as well. Gets that one off and draws Jandis.
That's
just
huge.
last game we saw this card turn the tides of battle. So having it in his hand midway through this game spells pretty good options, and finally drops Frost Whisper. Grabs 2 minions off the board.
That was good by him, and especially when you have Hammer of Naru in hand over here for 5K. He has a way to deal some damage to Ross, but he doesn't have a way to clear it out exactly. He does have that animated broomstick, but he just used one fairly recently, so he doesn't want to go ahead and waste that second one. Or maybe he does.
Yeah.
I'll be darned. But
all right.
that's a pretty big clear for him. But overall, he does have that Jandis to follow up with over on Shepard's side. Something to deal with when you have 2 5/5s to deal with the 4/3. And we could see another insane pull with something that allows him to let some more minions stick on board. So it's, by the time he gets around to that Malagos turn and things of those likes, he has more options.
Yeah, with 6, very pretty. He might not be happy about dropping Jondice, as that, again, that will wipe his turn for now. See what it does decide to do. Rolling down that timer just for a bit longer. Again, we didn't really get to talk about it. 2 Argent Braggarts in the other side, and yes, that is the move. That is the only move he does get. Pulls a Darkscale Healer and a Carousel Griffin. So, not exactly the best, but not the worst for sure.
Yeah, Carousel Griffin will be the best in terms of the decoy, which is what he opts for, because you do have the Divine Shield, and if you have big enough minions, which Paladin brings to the table, you're most likely going to be in a situation where you're clearing that 5/5 with 1 hit anyways. But when you sit there and give it the decoy, you still have the benefit of that Divine Shield that doesn't let it take a hit, so therefore it doesn't trigger the fact it's a decoy and therefore taking it off the board. So he gets a free 4/5, and he also gets a free 5/5 in that case without having that divine. He's going to test it here.
Yeah, that's a finally figures it out and immediately says, "Well, dang it, I just wasted that on a non-shielded target." So a little bit feels bad, but at least he knows who he has to target next. Thinking about tossing out either the hammer or the Libram of Hope. Decides for the Libram of Hope, gives himself and grabs that all-important Guardian right now. It's also going to be a drawback on the Pen Flinger, so he can use that again here next turn.
And if he's probably looking at that Mana Giant right about now, he needs a way to talk back to that 8/8 on board, and he has enough mana to get the Mana Giant off and at least copy it one time, but instead he's going to look for possibly a way just to draw this out. Ping up that 4/1, which is a good job by him. Trade out the 5/5, which still has a hit left in it. That 8/8 would get rid of it anyways. But he now does sit there and notice, I hope, remembering that he has 2 Pen Flingers in hand, 5K does, to deal with this.
Yeah, I feel like a little bit of an optimized route may have been to snap that shield first and then just sacrifice the Carousel Griffin for it. But I don't know. This is why I'm not playing in any of these matches. I would be a terrible judge of whatever is to come. That is going to be the deck of Lunacy being played. What does he get in return? Counterspell being thrown down, and I mean we're gonna have a blast here.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun at this point. Now we're gonna have Mana Giant only costing 1. He's probably going to double that up and try and get 3 8/8s onto the board this time around, or 3 8 cost minions at least. You're not guaranteed 8/8s at that point, but he does have something to try and buy himself some time this next turn around, and then he can go with that Malagos Cram session and possibly pull some really good spells in the meantime, setting that up.
Yeah, but he's going to have to cut through quite a bit. Draws out the 6/6 Holy Elemental from the Hammer of Naru. And now going to draw a second one. Mana Giants, you gotta love him. Instead of a small response to spells, he just draws his own 8/8s and very well might play them. But this is the time that Malagos might start coming into play. It's going to be 1 dropped on the board. Immediately destroy a minion to replace it. Wow.
Well, there's a free shutdown for the A4. That's and a free loose embark. So I mean, I'm sure he's real happy about this for 2 batons.
5K is just like, why, bro? Why did you just do me like that? Drops finally the other Mana Giant, which is literally 0 cost. Oh, Shepard is so happy about what just transpired.
Wow, that's good for him, and that's good for us because I'm not gonna say I'm rooting for the man, but I want to see some I want to see some lunatic plays go on. I want to see this Malagos Cram session come down. I want to see some dope spells coming out that cost almost nothing, but have a huge impact.
Oh, we're looking at it, and 5K is also like, man, it's coming. I know it's coming. We're hitting that high card spell limit. This is gonna be pain. We go ahead, see a drop onto Lucent Bark. Gonna take the 4 hit anyway, but immediately a swap over, of course. That is going to be a Lucent Bark, Spirit of Lucent Bark, praying that it stays alive for the time being. Nice little drop as well. Again, all of a sudden the taunt's coming out and a very nice snap. Oh, the board's getting stacked, baby.
Got a lot going here. We just got to see how exactly he can retaliate. He does have another Conjurer's Calling for this 8/8, so he can trade it into any of those things and possibly get another Lucent Bark, possibly, get another Alakir, something of the likes of that. He'd probably really enjoy that right about now to get another trade on that 6/2 and lock that out and have 2 taunts for those 8/8s to trade out on. But at this point in the game, this is where it's going to get interesting, I hope, because as long as Shepard can kind of carry this out a little bit longer, 5K knows he doesn't have that big of a hand right now, and he's not working with too much. So hopefully he can keep the courage on. He can hold on to it a little bit longer in order to hold out, continue some contingencies for this deck of Lunacy that we're going to see coming up here in a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, one would hope, of course, but he's got to start cutting through some of these crazy cards. Snaps out one of the taunted characters. Gonna drop the arcane missiles, which is 4 instead of 3. Catches 1 on the tail end and is gonna drop some DPS. Double hit coming out from that Windlord, very sorry, and a little bit of a hero power to boot. And immediately drops it.
Oh
What in the world? Shepard, RNG manipulator over here, draws what I would consider one of the best 2 extra minions.
That's insane.
Twice. He did it twice, man.
Like, he was looking probably for that Malagos cram session trade right there to get extra cards, but now he just has Octosari. He's like, I don't even need Malagos at this point in the game. I have insane spells in my deck. I have a free draw 8 and a trade on any of these minions that I want. And he's like, besides that, he's got to come to me. I got a 6/8 on board, which generates me an extra 6/6 at the end of every turn, which is free trades in the end.
My gosh, Shepard, this is the makeup for last time when he got 2 9s in the early start. The game's just like, yeah, we'll hand you back this one. We're really sorry about that last one. My mistake. Management's on it. We'll take care of you this time around. Go ahead, see what you can do. These Argent Braggarts gonna have to do what they can to hold. Take out 2, still sitting on a prayer. 8 1s and a toss out a Lord of Barrel, setting it down. Not gonna be able to do too much there, and immediately restoring 8 health. Amber Watcher, 1 of 2, gonna be trying to tack on those health bars. That's a huge combo from the Pen Flinger. Finally snapping up, and here we go. Couple cards coming in for Shepard. Bring it on! Bring it on!
Mortal Strike! Soul Mirror!
Oh, that's lost 2, but big hand coming out here. We're gonna have some spell slinging.
Oh man. Okay, so he has a lot of options here, and I think if he can trade that 3/3 into that 4/6, that's going to allow him to get a free board clear with his Soul Mirror. But he's probably thinking, which he would be only right to assume, that he has a Lady of Liadra in hand, which is going to be some free 8/8s on board, you know, if the game carries out long enough for that. And I think that's Shepard's biggest concern right now. As big and crazy as his hand may seem, he can still find a way to, you know, throw this away if he doesn't play this carefully.
Goes ahead, buffs it up. 11-6 is the count for this solo ruffian on the board. Wand Thief coming out here. Ray of Frost, Potion of Illusion, and immediately snaps up the Ray of Frost. Drops it onto Lord Barrow. He's going to continuously drop it. There you go. Tosses him out. 1's off the board, and that is a clear that he was hoping for. But now we're going to have to take a look. What can 5K do? You were pointed out, Lady Liadrin, very sorry, still available, and an Aldor attendant, just to round things out with a little spice of life.
I cannot wait to read these.
To make these liverments is a tiny bit a little cheaper, but we got to look at the size of this hand once it's done. It's a single liverment hope, which doesn't seem very hopeful overall for 5K.
He just drew another Wand Thief. Oh, this is silly. Yeah, just disgusting all the way around, and this is very close. Not lethal, I don't think. Actually, if he drops down a little more, might be actually. Yeah,
definitely got it.
Yeah,
with like spell damage stuff, with the Mortal Strike, he has more than enough at this point. He could have dropped him alley if he wanted to, but he didn't put salt in the wound. You know, very integral of him.
Man, this is why I would be terrible. But again, congratulations. The Mage did bring about that win. So now we're stuck at 2-2. You said it before. They are coming down to the wire. Let's go ahead, hop right in. Let's take a look at the decks that they have opted for. I believe, of course, it is going to be the Lightbringer Paladin once again.
I will fight with honor.
I am determined to win.
And a lot better of a first draw right here for Shepard. You know, he's going to want a mulligan at least. Probably one of those I-beams out, because Cult Master is going to be really good for him over the course of the game if he can get it at the right time. But who knows? Maybe there's one of those I-beams can bring out another 9-drop, and he's just stuck in the same situation as earlier. But meanwhile, over with 5K, he does have a lot better options right now. He has a red scale, so he can draw that free dragon. He has Sathel, so he has all kinds of ways to draw out more cards out of his deck.
And this is, I think, of the few RNG moments we've had thus far, I think this one's definitely going to be the most entertaining. Both of them getting, like you stated, some nice draws. And there's going to be the Libram of Hope. Once again, not amazing, but like you said, can cut down the cost ever so slightly. That's going to be the Dragon Tamer. And immediately Shepard knows what's coming towards him. Going to start buffing it up. Drops the Umber Wing, grabs 2 Fell Wing creatures, 1/1s, just to start giving himself a little bit of a board.
Pretty little juicy buff there for that red scale. Put Demon Hunter in a situation where he has to possibly look at an I-beam here, because he could have just continued face and out-tempoed him in terms of damage, but now he's kind of stuck in a weird place where he's saying, I need to get rid of this 4/5 because I have 4 damage on board as well, but it's not exactly going to buff it how I want it to.
Yeah, and like I said, plays out just as you had said. Gonna attack on an extra 2 damage towards the Pally 5k. Getting prepped though, as it grabs an Aldor Attendant as well as an Amber Watcher. So again, getting those buffs, happy to start trading some health for minions.
Don't keep your thoughts to yourself.
This is interesting. And a big draw for him. Oh my goodness.
This is... I'm telling you, RNG now, both... Whoever's controlling it just said, nah, we're done with this. We're not playing favorites. Just give it to everyone. We'll see what happens.
This is the BlizzCon blessing. I gotta hop on after these matches. Well, I guess they're like, okay, we're doing our announcements. Everybody's gonna play the game today. Make RNG really good, and everybody's gonna play. I need to hop on after this because apparently maybe my RNG is good too.
Well, see, this is why I don't play, because if anyone had my RNG, it would be terrible. But again, yeah, go ahead, hop on, whoever's watching. Please go ahead, because you might jump about 3 ranks. You don't know yet. But that is going to be the Slight Clear Uzil Horror. Please do not yell at me for butchering that name as much as I did. That's going to be a flip over to 5k side, as we already see some of the fall back. Gonna go ahead and drop that 1-cost Libram of Wisdom. Be very happy about the current setup, as the Lost Soul comes right back into Shepard's hand and draws up a Spirit Jailer.
Another Umberwing. We just see at this point, this man's just trying to buff that 5 in hand. He's trying to get, you know, that 5 cost to be as big as possible over there on the very left. Trying to buff it as big as possible and make sure once he drops it down, Paladin's going to spend all day trading out to try and get it, because that Blood Herald is just, it's looking like it's going to be huge at this point.
You gotta love it. The surprising cards that you can stack as long as you got that RNG, as long as you pulled it early. I think it's a very fun setup. You know, those small cost cards can always have some of the most surprising output. And again, 5 cost, not that small, but still a very nice one to hang on to. 0 cost, Libram of Wisdom, buffing it up again. That's gonna drop a 5/7, immediately another one. 6/8 to deal with Taunt as well. Jeez, welcome to the Buff City.
As we see another Blood Herald coming out here, we do see that Shepard has a lot of trades as well, especially with those, you know, commanding strikes over there. Another 6 Illidari with Rush. I mean, that's a free +6/+6 for both of these Blood Heralds on top of the 4. So these guys are going to be at least 10 right now.
Jeez. What in the world? And yeah, they're... Alright, let's see what he can do. All the buff ups in the world. True Seeker is going to be seeking his revenge later. Nice little love taps across the board, and a little bit of extra damage from the Jailer. Just flinging down some pain. It's gonna be,
Oh my goodness.
the tags, and my gosh. A 12/12 5 cost, ladies and gentlemen. Have fun with that.
I think he's gonna hold on to it. I think he's gonna get around and be like, it's like, let's just get into an OTK. You know he's gonna heal himself. So if I just get to 30, if I just get an open board and he doesn't have a taunt that turn, that's just a dub.
Yeah, no, that's all I needed. This is the OTK that you were talking about. There is going to be the eye beam. I don't think that can knock out the Holy Elemental no matter how much he tries. Looking at the board that is available. Might have to hold off, and again, this is going to be a lot of pain. Drop down to 17 health, and hasn't drawn any of the soul fragments just yet, so kind of bleeding a bit here. Gonna draw, and actually is gonna take the pain, I think is what he just did.
Oh, Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, he's playing with fire here. He's going all out here in the final moments, and I feel a little bit off. He drops it. All right, we see it now. 5K's just like, bro, you had this since the beginning. Where was it?
And Shepard's like, little do you know, I got another one. Let's just hold on a little bit. I'll drop this to NECC. I'll get those trades in. I'll make the next one bigger.
Oh no, that's just rude. 3 little damage on top. That's that's a 2-turn. Okay, there you go. Finally give yourself a buff. That's at least a 3-turn hold right there on Ancient Guardian. Make that 4. 5K said, cool. I'll do you one better. I got the shield. So now we got to take a look, and there is another command coming out. The question is will that be able to be enough? It'll at least soak some of the damage off, and he can at least, I think, claim the Ancient Guardian with the buffed up Blood Herald. We'll see that's what he's going to do. Yep, going to drop that one down and spare himself. That's another 5, but take a look on that bottom side board. Now up to 12. Gonna be even stronger than the last one. Oh my gosh, 5K. You are in for a world of surprise and pain.
Now I'm sure with the Argent, 5K has a way. He says, okay, yours is going to cost 5 and take all game to kind of, you know, create. I can just put a 2-drop on board, and it's going to copy those same exact stats. I think right here, 5K may just actually have this. He has so much more to work with. You see in his hand, he can steal that 3-6 with taunt. He can steal that 15-5. He can do whatever he wants, and even on top of that, he has that Damas in hand. He has the Amber Watcher to restore some health. He just has too much to work with, and Shepard just doesn't have enough gas in the tank to go all the way, and that's what it looks like.
Yeah, that's going to be the drop as the carousel has been spun, and he's actually going to grab that Fellhound. So giving him an immediate shield here is going to stifle some, and now he goes ahead and drops it down once again, leaving him Wisdom. Second setup here. Not a bad rotation to say the least. And now it's going to be a flip, so a nice little stack and early start.
Probably going to go for this 1 drop here. Because, I mean, he doesn't have much to work with. These are all really big threats. They're all going to either buy time or do something of the likes, and he doesn't want to risk that as of right now.
Yeah. Might have to give up his first Blood Herald depending on how these things play out. Grabs 1 or 2, drops those 2, and immediately tries to use the broom to sweep it up. Gonna get 3 more on the board. Says, hello, you are gone. Playing with a very low fire here. I think this might be a little pain. Actually, that is going to be a clear. Yeah, decides against auto attacking. Drops a 1, but drops a 22-22. Says time to face the music. Our time in this match is drawing to a close.
Just too much work. Even Libra to Justice, that's a free shutdown. Oh man. That's shameful. You know, Shepard was looking so good here, especially with how much he had to work with those 2 Blood Heralds. But overall, 5K, why are you doing this, man? You could have at least gotten the bonus health off of it if you're going to be rude about it. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I think at this point, Shepard really just doesn't know what to do about this. Because he doesn't even know about the Damas.
Yeah,
he still doesn't know about that.
He's just drops it down to 5. What can Shepard do? I don't think anything, like you said.
Maybe? He's got a little bit with these expendable performers. He's not going to get the full 14 damage out of it because he's not going to be able to trade all 7 in right here. He's going to be left with 3 on the board afterwards, but still a nice clear nonetheless, giving him, you know, 1 more turn to survive, but overall, it doesn't seem like everything will be enough.
And honestly, this one has definitely, it felt like at least, the closest of the matches, you know, lots of back and forth action coming out here. And a beautiful play. You said it yourself, this matchup would have been the craziest. And that's Gonna be the drop of the dragon, an immediate draw of King Ferris
I do
and
love a
Yashar.
good study session.
The Filer coming out to say hello. A little bit of damage coming out of the Pen Flinger once again. That's a heavy stack. Yeah, Shepard facing down the music.
Well, it looks like, I mean, a little bit too late for that, buddy. That's a shame. You know, he does have an NECC in hand. There's not much he can do with that. He has the 3, he has 6 damage, but that Divine Shield, that's a free hit. That's technically 8 damage. They need some more to deal with it, but just can't close it out. So it looks like Shepard here is going to finish it out with 5K taking that win with the Ramp Paladin.
Honestly, awesome back and forth to watch, but as you said, the Ramp Paladin, no matter, even if it's not pure, will take the win. And that is going to be GG in favor of Concordia, Wisconsin's FiveKPlayz, making his way up to 1-1 in the Challengers division.
No, like I said, all these matchups are really nice. I don't think we saw too much aggro. We saw, Ramp Paladin twice. We saw Demon Hunter a couple times, got shut out the first time, but overall we saw that Cyclone Mage. We saw all kinds of things which just drew out the game. We didn't see a Stealth Rogue. Instead, we saw a Whirl Kick Rogue. So I love these kinds of matchups. It offers a lot of variety, offers a lot of RNG to kind of show up and allow a way for us to see how intelligent these players are to work with the materials and resources they're given.
Yeah, and again, these guys will constantly be refining their decks. We'll get to watch them throughout the entire time. And again, once that end of the season runs out in the playoffs, I'm very excited to see what's going on. So again, any final thoughts? Any decks that you would like to actually see return so far? I know the Mage was a little silly one, but anything that you are looking forward to maybe next week or further on?
Cyclone Mage, I would love to see come back. I would love to see a little bit more Priest, honestly. We haven't seen very much of that. We've seen a lot of kind of aggro decks, and we've seen a little bit more sustain in Paladin, but it's just so meta. It's kind of a standard at this point. I would love for these guys to throw some curveballs in here with something like the likes of Priest or like a big warrior, or possibly even if it's not a sustainable Priest or a Highlander, something that it may be annoying to see, but at least it's something different. Something like Big Priest or Resurrect Priest, to where if it gets shut down early by these aggro decks, it'll be good to watch. But it also will be fun to watch if we see the board just get flooded with things like 10-10s and 8-8s.
Oh man, that is we saw it a little bit at the end, drawing some fun little extras, but again, that will be it. And like you said, hopefully we get to see some changes, because again, ladder does not always provide victory. So that is going to be it for us here on the Hearthstone League event today. So thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Orbital. I was joined here with Mick. Thank you so much for tuning in, and have a fantastic evening.